I will put you on my knee like a little child, and I'm going to spank you like a little child, but I will do it with a ton of jail time. Do you understand?
Welcome back to the LackLuster channel.
You were to come back tomorrow. Don't come with a baby. Do you understand me?
Sir.
Don't come back here with the baby. Because if you're here and I put you in custody for one reason or the other, I will call CPS. Do you understand?
Sir.
But here, whoever you are, I don't care who you are, we will hold you accountable. And if you continue to piss on my leg and tell me it's raining, there will be issues. Do you understand?
This is Judge Fleischer. He handles misdemeanor cases in Harris County, Texas. And if you like watching court drama, this guy is entertaining.
Have you played Monopoly before? Okay. In Monopoly, you get a get out of jail free card. This is the only one that you're going to get from me. If you ever miss court again, if you ever fail to come when you're supposed to, I will issue a warrant and I will keep the warrant and I will lock you up.
Sir.
Do you understand? No more get out of jail free cards.
All right,
Yeah.
Judge, the next
What? Did you think that you were coming to the beach today in shorts?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I completely wasn't using my head.
You know, when my kids tell me sorry,
It's my first time in court. I'm sorry.
it's a court. You know, in court, you're supposed to dress a certain way. This isn't the circus, man. You know, you continue to say sorry for things. At some point, your sorry will go in this ear and will go out that ear. Do you understand?
Sir.
Everything you're doing here, I'm going to mark it and we will know it. So that if you come in here and try to play this game again, I will put you on my knee like a little child and I'm going to spank you like a little child, but I will do it with a ton of jail time. Do you understand?
Sir.
There's a reason I wanted to share a few of his cases. Over the years, we've discussed at length the differences between reasonable articulable suspicion, or RAS, and probable cause, also known as PC. Most of you know that probable cause is required for an arrest, but what exactly does that mean? Well, if an arrest is made with a warrant, it's assumed that PC exists because a judge has to sign a warrant based on evidence presented to them by those seeking the arrest. But when a person is arrested without a warrant, a probable cause hearing, or in some jurisdictions, a preliminary hearing, should be held within 48 hours so that a judge can review the alleged facts and determine if PC exists.
Ms. Jackson, you now stand charged with possession of marijuana. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you.
Yes, Judge. On September 26, 2024, officers conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle bearing an expired agent tag. Officers made contact with the occupants of the vehicle. Defendant Cephas was arrested for a DWLI, and defendant Jackson had active warrants out of Webster PD. Officers conducted an inventory of the vehicle and located 2 small black bags containing a green leafy substance on the passenger side where defendant Jackson was sitting, and a backpack containing a firearm in the trunk. Substance was identified as marijuana based on training and experience. The weight was 4 grams or 0.141 ounces. The defendants denied ownership of both. The defendants were identified with Texas driver's license.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Yes, Judge.
So first off, you said defendants.
Yes, there are 2 defendants, Your Honor.
Right. So the driver.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and then the weed was found where?
Under the passenger seat where defendant Jackson was sitting.
In what?
In a 2 small black bags.
How do you attribute the bags to her?
Your Honor, they were just located on the side of the vehicle where she was sitting.
So, could be his. Okay, just puts it there. I don't know.
Yes, Your Honor, but the affirmative link would be in the proximity of where she was sitting as well.
Have anything else that identifies the bag as hers? The guy is the person's a guy, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so is there a lipstick? Is there anything else that would identify the bag as hers?
No, Your Honor. All we have is that it was located on the passenger side glove box, just those two small flat bags.
Glove box.
Yes, Your Honor.
It was in the glove box. Stop it. Are you losing?
Yes, Your Honor. That's all we have.
Okay, I'm gonna find no probable cause. Be careful with the company you keep. When you hang with dogs, you get fleas, Miss Jackson. You know this. Come on. All right, please, just take a seat.
Now let's look at a case that's more relevant to the incidents that we see over and over again on this channel. Interference with a public servant charges. Remember, a probable cause hearing is not a trial, and the prosecution is not required to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt.
Good morning, Miss Wimbush. Ma'am, you are charged with interference with the duties of a public servant. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you.
On September 26, 2024, at approximately 1:15 p.m., an officer responded to a call at the TSU Library Center located at 3100 Claiborne Street in Harris County, Texas, regarding a disturbance. The officer made contact with the individual causing the disturbance, and the defendant approached asking officers what's going on and what did she do. The officers repeatedly asked the defendant to step back, and she became belligerent, asserting that they were at her store. She eventually complied and moved away, but she insisted that a police supervisor be called to the scene. TSU Sergeant Barnett arrived and spoke privately with the defendant. Afterwards, responding officer requested the defendant's information to report her behavior to her supervisor in the university. The defendant refused to provide it and attempted to bypass the officer. When the officer asked her to identify herself again, the defendant declined and attempted to walk away. As the officer tried to detain her, she began to throw herself on the ground and yell, escalating the disturbance. Several officers issued verbal commands for her to comply. The defendant continued to resist, jumping around and asserting her rights. The officer attempted to escort her outside. The defendant then wrapped her arms and legs around a pole, continuing to yell. The officers physically pried her from the pole and detained her. The defendant used her body weight to resist and push against the officers. The defendant was then placed in the back of the patrol car without incident.
What was she doing wrong?
So it appears she wasn't the initial person causing the disturbance, but when they came to respond to the disturbance that they were called for, she intervened. And once they asked her to remove herself from the situation,
And you didn't say, when you initially started saying about everything, you didn't say that she was the initial cause of the disturbance, that there was a call for a disturbance. They get out there and she, I guess.
So what it says is that they made contact with the individual that was causing the disturbance, and then the defendant approached asking.
See, right. So she just comes up, starts being nosy, right?
Right.
And then she basically, I guess, is trying to leave. And then they start asking her for her information.
Well, they were asking her to leave the scene so that they can respond to the disturbance, and she wouldn't comply. I think that's the issue, that she wouldn't leave when they asked her.
Did you say that?
Yes. They asked her to move away from the scene, and she refused to comply.
Show me, will you read that part again?
Mm-hmm. So when she approached the officers repeatedly asked the defendant to step back, and the defendant became belligerent, asserting that they were at her store. She eventually complied and moved away, but
So she complies, she moves away.
Right. But then she came back.
Okay.
And so at that point, when she returned, they asked her to identify herself. She refused to provide her identification. And then at that point, when they asked her to identify herself, she attempted to bypass the officers.
She leaves. She's trying to leave.
She is attempting to, she's
leaving.
attempting to leave again.
And then they start bucking up to her.
Sure, yeah.
Sounds like interference. So.
That's what she's charged with. But so sounds like she's got a case of the nosies, you know? She goes up there, allegedly being nosy, leaves, comes back, and then they start asking for her information. she declines to give her information.
So, Judge, what I'm looking at here, just to add context to the situation, she approaches in an unrelated incident, it looks like.
Correct.
She's asking what's going on. Fine. They talk to her individually. Okay. They tell her to leave. She continually asks what's going on. What did she do? She asserts, she becomes belligerent, is what the officer says, asserting that they were at her store, obstructing their investigation. Eventually, I don't know what the time frame is, but they say eventually she complies, moves away, but insisted that they need to call a supervisor to the area. A sergeant then spoke with her privately. After they responded and they requested her information to report her behavior to her supervisor at the university, and to identify her, which she refused to do. She then attempts to bypass officers. They ask her for identification again. They're detaining her. She says no.
But what's the interference? What did she specifically do?
Well,
She's just talking to them.
I understand,
Right.
Judge. She's talking to them, but she's saying that they're at her store. She's belligerent, telling them to leave. They're at her store. The position of the state judge is that did obstruct their investigation. I mean, it's not in this. There's multiple senses of obstruction in our opinion. It's not.
Are you losing right now? Okay. Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do it. All right, I'll find no probable cause.
I'll dismiss the case, Judge.
When you go up and you get into a pissing match with officers, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Every single time. If you go up and you mess with someone who has the power of arrest, you're going to lose every single time. Don't go. It's not hard. I found no probable cause in your case, ma'am. Just be careful. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If I want to press charges,
Don't. You know what? Let sleeping dogs lie. Don't.
they assaulted me, though. They knocked out my tooth. They chipped my tooth. I got bruises on me.
And you can always go file a complaint with Internal Affairs,
That's what I'm asking.
whatever.
How could I do that? I don't know the protocols.
So, what agency was this? Is this? Did you say it was at a college or?
TSCP.
Okay. So you go to the Texas Southern University Police. You go to Internal Affairs, and you can file a complaint that way. Okay, I would take everything that you have, and that's how you do it. Okay, but just be careful.
I can't even go back to my job because they're trying to ban me.
I don't know. I mean, did they issue some kind of trespass warning?
No, sir.
If there's a trespass warning, be careful. I don't see that one has been filed. They haven't told me about any kind of trespass or anything, so just be careful. Okay.
I'll admit that it's refreshing to find a judge that doesn't bow to every charge a law enforcement agency and the county's prosecutors attempt to pursue. However, I disagree with the final advice he gave to the defendant.
If I want to press charges,
Don't. You know what? Let sleeping dogs lie. Don't.
they assaulted me, though. They knocked out my tooth. They chipped my tooth. I got bruises on me.
And you can always go file a complaint with Internal Affairs.
I can't imagine that we're meant to sit by and wait for the government to stop doing what it was never meant to do. And that sentiment is better explained by James Otis Jr., who wrote in 1767 that, quote, "Nothing destroys liberty faster than the belief that it's better to submit quietly than to stand up and defend our rights." Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section. If you'd like to see more cases featuring Judge Fleischer, let me know that you enjoyed this video. Otherwise, check out some of my other work, linked on screen.